Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai. FG to revive Ajaokuta steel through Russia's collaboration, says Adegbite, Minister of Mines and Solid Minerals Development. Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigerian. I am your host, Daniel Atai. And with me in the studio to look into this is Oche Emmanuel Esquire, a public affairs analyst. Welcome to Spectacle.
Thank you so much.
We're talking about this particular issue of governance today and with reference to Ajaokuta. But before I come to you, let's look at what the topic is all about. Now, Russia to revamp Ajaokuta Steel Company. Ajaokuta is located in Kogi State, north central Nigeria. And as we speak, the federal government is in partnership with the Russian government to revive Ajaokuta Steel Company. The Minister of Mines and Solid Minerals Development, Olamelikan Adegbite, made the disclosure on Friday, October 18th. And Adegbite says the Russian government wants to put Ajaokuta back on its feet. The FG is looking at the different methods to engage them, he said. The federal government on Friday, which is October 18th, said it is in partnership with the Russian government to revive Ajaokuta Steel Company, as revealed at an interactive session with the Senate Committee on Solid Minerals, Mines, Steel and Development. And according to him, the main feature of President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to Russia today is to discuss the reviving of the steel company. Adegbite said that the Russians have shown interest to help Nigeria revive Ajaokuta with their own money. They want to put Ajaokuta back, and we are looking at different methods to engage them because it is almost completed. They bring in some money to finish what is there and operate it for a while, realize their investment and profit, and transfer it back to Nigeria. I think this is the best part to revive Ajaokuta, and I believe within the tenure of our time, we will achieve this. Meanwhile, the minister a long time ago said that some sections of the Ajaokuta Steel Company would begin operation before the end of the year. The minister gave this revelation when he received the Russian ambassador to Nigeria, Alexei Shabasher, in his office, and emphatically said the government was making serious effort to see the Ajaokuta Steel work and start production. Now, Barrister, you are a public analyst. Yeah. Ajaokuta Steel was, the government invested into Ajaokuta Steel, and I think about 8 billion naira from the start. And over 40 years now, that company has never worked. Now, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari have given it a second thought, aligning the decision of Russia to take over and revamp the steel company again, a boost. What is your pick, and what are we going to gain from this? And we'll be talking about the legal implications too.
Well, thank you so much. And I think this is a cheering news. And so to speak, I know many Nigerians are also going to be happy hearing this news. But I hope it's not one of those political statements that our leaders make and then they don't go further to practicalize what they say.
Okay.
Like I keep saying that the laws that Nigeria operate are very beautiful laws. So beautiful that if they were women, many men would have fallen in love. But the problem is with the operators of this law. Okay. You know, once the opportunity comes for them to do a thing, they abuse it. Now, this policy, this pronouncement from the government, it gladdens my mind. One, because this elephant project has been on at a time that company almost went out of Nigeria's system.
Yes.
Now, if you go to Ajaokuta, very vast are part of that Ajaokuta, marked by the company. I've visited there myself. I've seen some of the things that the Russian companies did. The question is, why didn't they finish it in the first place? It simply means that part of the contract that the government of Nigeria and that of the country entered to may have been vitiated. I hope they have been able to tidy up part of these gray areas and have agreed concretely to do this for Nigerians. Now, if they had taken up operations over 30, 40 years ago when this company was conceptualized, by now Nigeria would have owned this company because they would have operated, made a profit, and then transfer ownership to Nigeria. And that would have been a beautiful thing for Nigeria. And of course, you don't need a prophet to tell you what benefits Nigerians start to get from this. Beside our international profile, are still producing country, job opportunity, and the chain trickles down. And that would have been a very good, huge benefit for Nigeria and her government and improve our economy, so to speak. Now, it's our prayers that the Russians are known for effective steel development outside the United States and India. Russians have come to stay as one of the best steel developers in the world. It is our hope that if concrete agreements is entered between Nigerian government and that of Russian government, with the body posture of President Muhammadu Buhari, who appears to be a no-nonsense person in terms of corruption, and then effectively ensuring that whatever he puts his hand to do is properly done, we are hoping that Russia will do justice to it, and Nigeria will benefit from it.
All right. Well, that is our first take. This program will be open to audience participatory. The telephone numbers are displayed on the screen there for you to call and make your contribution. And for the sake of the vision impaired ones, the numbers to call are 081-3701-5949 and or 070-5432-7616. And of course, if you are calling from outside the country Nigeria, you can, don't forget to put the country code, which is +234, before dialing the figures. Stay tuned. After this timeout, shortly we'll be with you.
The issue here we have to begin to look at is that at the time of independence, I don't know if there was a trajectory to where we are going to.
But how could it be that credible, free and fair under manual conduct of election?
That is where our problem lies, and that is why people are now saying that, advising that we should move, that the world has gone into digital. We should move from the manual to the digital.
We cannot keep doing same thing and expecting a different result.
The only way you create jobs from your ministry is that you have to encourage local content.
If you look at the profile of Salimama, there is a caveat in this leave given to him. He should seek medical help if he's fine.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. Welcome back. The lines are open for your participation. Now, Esquire, you said what happened initially, that the contract was not completed between the Russian government and the Nigerian government. What are your suspects or your suspicions?
Well, nothing more. I'm sure there might not have been substantial disclosure of the terms and conditions of that contract. I'm very sure that perhaps way into the execution of that contract, Nigeria or so may have found that Nigeria or the Russian government may have found that part of what they expected were not met because the contract is not is something that we are privy to. Well, I think very substantially that that should be the cause, because you can't have such international agreement and then way in between one of the countries pull out without substantial vitiation element to vitiate that contract.
Some analysts that I listened to made some assertions that the Russians have seen that building this company then would make Nigeria a member nation of the superpowers.
No, I think that's beer parlor opinion. The Russian government would have seen through the eyes of the pin and would have seen what Nigerians stand to benefit. Of course, it's all about trade, technology transfer. They know what they want to get, and Nigerians know what they want to have. So having an iron or steel company or whatever you think about it does not automatically transcend to you producing weapon and armory or making you a giant overnight. There are other countries that are rich in oil, and they are not members of this United Nations Security Council. No, that's not true. That's why I say it's a beer parlor discussion. But I think above all that countries that knows what these companies stand to benefit Nigeria may be perturbed that if Nigeria gets it right, of course, Nigeria will have to increase their GDP and all of those. Yes, that's okay, because in economy, most countries want to bully the other.
Yeah.
And this bullish lifestyle exists everywhere.
Yeah.
If you go to Japan, look at the Nikkei. If you go to the United States, look at their transaction. And so Nigeria should not be seen as a country who want to be one of the African bullies. We should be thinking of how we can bully the world over, not just Africa. We are contented with what's happening in Africa. We should be thinking ahead of Africa. Okay. So if anyone is thinking along that line, it's unfortunate. But I think we need to get it right.
And do you think that this particular steel company have the propensity of making Nigeria a weapon production nation?
I doubt. You see, if you look at the codes, if you look at the laws, the United Nations Charter and other agreements that brought all of these countries together, don't forget that after 1914 and then in 1945, First, Second World War, countries decided to come together to form the UNO, the United Nations. And then upon that formation, conditions that may make any country become weapon producer or even join the league of those who are...
The Security Council.
Yes, it's clearly spelled out. And that you manufacture all of these things does not automatically make you legally entitled to production of weapons. Don't forget that if you recently, Iran and some other countries have been on that line of wanting to produce weapons of mass destruction, and the United States and other countries have been, being the world sheriff, have been against them and all of those things. So if Nigeria suddenly find that because they have all, they are producing iron and then they want to go into weapon production and all of those, they required permission, they required strategy, and then they require conditions for that will be spelled out by the United Nations, the Security Council.
Okay.
And our problem in Africa should have been, why is any African nation not a member of that inner house of the United Nations?
Okay.
Okay, that should have been our concern.
Especially the Security Council.
That inner house. And so that is where our challenge should be. But that you do this production does not empower you to become a member of the United Nations Security Council or world power.
Okay.
No.
The minister said, Adegbite said that the government of Nigeria, of course, President Muhammad Buhari have just gone to, left for Russia today. And part of what he's going to do there is to conclude this negotiation and then for the Russian to come into the country in Kogi State to begin the revamping of the Ajaokuta steel. And he said they are going to revamp it and use it, the company, for a while to realize whatever they have invested into it. Do you see any legal technicality coming out as a result of this in the long run, or any possible infringement that will make the Russians still say, no, we are not interested again?
No. I think this is even a very beautiful agreement, because in this case, the Russia now knows that they have a stake. Okay. If the company is not designed, prepared in such a way that it has the capacity to churn out what is expected of it, they are also not going to make their money and make their profit. It simply means the Russian government is going to bring in their money to put into this company. So, okay. so they are coming to Nigeria to do business. Unlike it used to be when money from crude is given to them, we'll pay you, you do these things and you go away. That has occasioned the reason for the fallout and the dilapidation of most companies in Nigeria. Now that they are coming with their expertise, they are coming with their money to give us a world standard company, it simply means that they want to have a stake. And if they are able to get it right, don't forget that in the course of this production, Nigerians are going to be employed into their technical system, even at the highest level, for them to learn. Because when they are going to transfer this technology to Nigeria, and Nigeria will also transfer to Nigeria.
Already 60 Nigerians are there. They have been there since 2018.
Yes, this news gladdens my mind, because you see, I have also advocated severally that our educational system needs to be overhauled to include teaching of vocational and skill acquisition system, so that people don't just go to school to study theories. Our engineers, you have electrical engineer who cannot even fix bulb. You have a mechanical engineer who cannot even, fix his car. I mean, it's a funny thing. But you will see a technician. I've argued before that the mechanic on the roadside fixing our cars and the engineers that came from the university, between them and the mechanics, I don't know who is a better engineer. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. So we are saying that with such technology, with such transfer, Nigeria will be able to appreciate the fact that the world has gone beyond theory. Our institutions should appreciate the fact that we should not just be teaching with chalks and making calculations that you may not find in the labor market. We should begin to teach our undergraduate skills, vocations, so that when they leave, they can employ and become employable. Exactly. So this is what I think.
And even become employers of labor.
Fantastic. So this is what I think the Russians are coming to teach us. And by the time those who have gone to learn the skills there come back with the Russians, I tell you, within the next few years, Nigeria will be good for it. It will be very beneficial.
Thank you for that. It's wonderful. And this is one aspect, one industry, 8 billion, only 8 billion compared to the funds have been stolen from all over the country, the various treasuries we have in the country. If 8 billion was invested into Ajaokuta and built Ajaokuta to that stage, do you think that all this money being recovered now by EFCC, today we learned about 937 billion naira have been the amount recovered so far from 2015 to 2019 by Magu, the chairman of the EFCC, and his subordinates. Do you think we should look into building more industrial structure with recovered fund, rather than not knowing what to do with the fund?
Well, first of all, I need to thank this government for making effort to recover some of this stolen money. It hurts me each time I come to realize that most of our commonwealth was stolen by just few Nigerians. And unfortunately, this money is stashed out somewhere in another country. Even if they are stealing this money and reinvesting it in our country, it wouldn't have been that disastrous. And so we have lost a lot of money as a result of countries not willing to even cooperate with Nigeria in terms of repatriating this money to us. Now, 8 billion is a peanut compared to what some individuals have stolen. Only recently, from our findings, we find out that almost more than 1 trillion naira has been stolen from this country. I mean, trillion naira. 1 trillion naira,
Yeah.
equivalent of the budget of some countries in Africa.
Yeah.
That means a few persons sat down and stashed the way for themselves. So, coming to your question, the future of this country, it should be built around establishment of industrial areas and companies, functional industries that will accommodate our graduates, technicians. Don't forget that Nigeria, with the way Nigeria, our leadership and our parents are beginning to open up to international communities. Nigerians are beginning to acquire Western education through cost anyway. Now, those Nigerians should also come back home and find something similar to what they see there and do. So it is my candid advice that this money, when they are retrieved or repatriated, or when, for instance, the president have just said that assets and every other thing that are seized from criminals and Nigerians who have stolen all of these things should be sold and money should be returned to the single treasury account, which is very sound instruction, and if it is followed to the latter, Nigeria is going to recoup a lot of money. This money should be used to build industries. It should be used to build our roads. For instance, look at Nigerian roads. It's very unfortunate. We need our roads that were single to be dualized.
You're on point. Somebody said, I think I listened to one analyst, Emmanuel Alozie. He said that if we revamp Ajaokuta now, possibly the next industry to be revamped or ministry to be revamped to functionality is that of works and housing, since our roads are built by Chinese men and we have works and housing in the country. Just to chip into what you were saying about dualization of our roads and why the state of the roads are the way they are, I think it is because we don't have a functional industry capable of doing our roads, and we always give them to Chinese companies to do. Go ahead.
And I also think more of that is that at the point our rail system failed, and some of these heavy duty equipment that ought to be transported via rail system were transported on road. Don't forget that this road is made of bitumen and coal and all of those. So they can expand. And so the pressure on the road became more. Imagine if you are transporting iron on the road, cow, all these cattle you see, cement, and all of these things, trucks. Dangote now have to bring in so many trucks because the train system has failed. But imagine if all of these are transported, crude and all of these things, via rail system. I mean, the lifespan of our road will be more. And that occasion, the reason why most of our roads suddenly collapse. Suddenly. Take a tour around Nigeria. Most of our roads are in sorry state. And most of the accident, loss of life, as precious as life is, most lives have been lost because of poor roads. So hopefully, if this company is revitalized, we expect that the chain and other ripple effect of it will come, such as good roads, because there must be effective road network to enable the operators of the company transport some of the things they are manufacturing elsewhere. The rail system too will be functional. Then those who are going to be doing minor and mini businesses will also earn a living. I mean, the benefit of this company is huge, it's monumental, and Nigeria are going to really benefit from it if they decide to accept and operate it the way it should be.
Okay, it means you are applauding the move.
It gladdens my heart. I mean, it suits me because imagine if people who I know are first-class graduates, imagine those who have left the university and polytechnic and other schools who haven't found jobs are suddenly employed and trained to become experts in their field of endeavor. Imagine what that would transcend to in the next 30, 40 years.
But don't you think that we have Nigerians, especially youths, let me come to the angle of graduate. If you ask a graduate to work in a factory to learn the act of steel, mines and so on, to develop stuff like that, do you think the graduate would want to work in a factory? Because the original conception of the mentality we have in the African continent is that once you are certified a degree holder or a doctorate degree holder or a master degree holder, you don't need to wear the overall engineering or whatever to go into the factory anymore. Certification is what we believe in.
Well, you are correct in terms of perception. You see, a few years ago, I started my practice in Lagos. A few years ago, Dangote came up with a policy that he wants to employ drivers who are graduates. And you are going to drive some of the trucks that he was bringing in, and after a while, these trucks will be transferred to you. I mean, drivers who are graduates. Many people thought it was madness. But you know what? There are professors in this country who are not really doing anything. They are not even teaching.
Professors.
They are professors for the fun of being professors. You need to go to the Southwest, where you see people who are sadly educated. Some of them just want to be educated, and that's all. They are master degree holders who are not really doing anything.
Education without practical orientation and productivity, is that education?
I mean, sometimes the reason why you went to school is not because you want to be not because you want to be productive. You can be productive even if you don't have certificates. You can. We've seen people who never went to school, who are billionaires and multi-billionaires. They are retinue and panoply of examples. World leaders, I mean, who has even risen to be presidents? We can name them. Okay? We see dropouts from school who are owners of big industries. So education is not a reason why you should contribute to your country. But however, that's a different line of argument. So, if as a graduate you are employed in a factory, what matters is your take home. It's not a job you're doing. In China, the people we bring to develop our countries, in Germany, in France, these big companies that come to do our roads and our rail system, some of them, the so-called leaders of the team, are factory workers in their countries. They are carpenters.
And they are first-class graduates.
I mean, you can say it again. But the problem we have in Nigeria, I'm sorry to say, it's all about perception. You see, me, I read this, and I am doing this kind of work. They're forgetting that those things don't matter. And it's a fallout of the corruption that the military and successive government has impugned in our character. Every young person wants to drive the latest car. Every young person wants to live in the best house. I mean, you need to eke out a living for you to benefit from what you're doing. You don't just wake up and become a millionaire, except if you want to do this moju money they are doing everywhere. And I think that will be funny. So I think Nigerian perception should change. If you're a graduate, whatever you are, factory work is not for peasants anymore. Factory work is for those who have the requisite qualification to do that job.
Exactly.
And that's what I think Nigerians should begin to think.
And that is the prospect we are having from the revamping of Ajaokuta Steel Company. Stay with us. The lines are still open. After this short break, we'll be back to round it up with our analyst in the studio, Barrister Emmanuel Oche. Stay tuned.
This is Television Nigerian, a broadcast network committed to serving you the very best in online and offline television programming. Situated in the serene environment of Guzape, Abuja FCT, TVN, as it is fondly called, caters to a wide variety of audience via carefully orchestrated mind-blowing programs in the areas of fashion, business, politics, entertainment, religion, movies, food and health, culture and lifestyle, events around the globe, sports and foreign news. Whatever your inclination, we've got you completely covered with programs like Issues of the Moment, The Patriot, Daybreak Nigeria, Mata Africa, TVN Business Time, Healthy Living, From the Cradle, Stay Inspired, Entertainment Gist, Movie Hour, Hits Paradise, among others. All designed to keep you thoroughly informed, entertained, at the edge of your seats and yearning for more. A tour around our domain will reveal a highly dedicated staff force and a state-of-the-art facility and equipment for high-definition quality broadcast, making our station your #1 choice in advertising your business and propagating your ideas. We are currently on Nigecomsat doing our test transmission for takeoff in the nearest future. Television Nigerian is located in Nigeria at Television Nigerian House, Guzape Hilltop Mansion, beside Guzape White House, Guzape Abuja FCT, and in the United Kingdom at 45 Ancient House, 48 Aerodrome Road, Beaufort Park, Colindale, London. For inquiries,
welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai. Welcome back. We just have 5 minutes to run it up, and the prospect of employment that Ajaokuta could give as of 2018 was focused at 50,000 direct labor that Ajaokuta still, if Revamp, could employ. That is direct. We're not talking about indirect labors here. If this direct labor are going to work under the Russian government, who are going to be the investors, do you think it will be realistic?
Why not? It's going to be very realistic. They're not
from the angle of the law or whatsoever,
yes,
since they are the investors.
Yes. Of course, they might have their templates as well. Okay. They are not going to bring all their citizens to the country to be employed by Ajaokuta Steel Company. Okay. They are going to need the services of Nigerians. I'm sure the expatriate quota, there's what we call expatriate quota, okay, will be well discussed in the agreement, okay, and all of those.
You say expatriate quota?
Yes, expatriate quota.
Okay.
So okay. I'm sure all of those will be discussed in the agreement and set aside, and parties are not expected to breach that, as it were. But there are little fringes of work that may trickle down from some of the things that will be happening around there within the factory and the company in general. Those ones will be done by Nigerians.
Do you see, while you are going on that, do you see any political factor, what is happening in Kogi now, you know?
Yes, I'm even trying to go there. It's very unfortunate that
this is Kogi state we are talking about.
Yes, a state that is about to get one of the best and strong companies in Nigeria is going through some sort of political challenge. The deputy governor has just been removed, and I think there is some sort of controversy looking from the fact that Section 188 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, which talks about the procedure for removal of a governor or a deputy governor, appears not to be strictly followed. Because if you look at Section 188, subsection 8 particularly, where that section talks about once the allegation, the gross misconduct is an omnibus misconduct. Okay. Once that is not proved by the panel of 7 that was constituted by the House of Assembly, once it is not proved, then disciplinary action or removal cannot take place. I'm aware, I've also seen a copy of the report from the panel that the gross misconduct that was alleged by the House of Assembly was not proved. And the panel reported back to the Assembly that it was not proved. So ordinarily, I thought that going by our tenets of democracy and respect for rule of law, that should have ended it. But they went ahead and did what they know how to do best.
But if you speak from the angle of your party now, somebody may say you are already speaking anti-party.
I am a public affairs analyst. I just want to believe that this country has to be better than a political party. This country has to be better.
All right, thank you very much. So, and you are advising the Kogite, the Kogi state, especially political juggernauts, to put their house together, since the vision is very clear that they are going to have a Ajaokuta steel company very soon.
Yeah, they have to, because if they don't, the Russians might be afraid of coming. The people coming are not just mean men. They are not just ordinary people. These are people who are coming with their money, they are coming with their intellect, they are coming with their technology, and then they can't just bring all of those, and then one political uncertainty sets in, and then they lose everything. They are serious-minded people. The Russians that I have interacted with, they are not people you can push aside. And once that happens, Nigeria start to lose, because they might take Nigeria to court. You know, so I urge people in Kogi State, and I urge the government of Kogi State to respect rule of law, simple rule of law. Must you punish people? If you want to punish people and the law is not on your side, why don't you just wait?
Okay, that's correct. Must you punish people? And if you must punish people and the law is not on your side, you have to respect the rule of law. Yes. Coming from Barrister Oche Emmanuel, and that's where we're going to stop today on Spectacle. We've been discussing Russia to revamp Ajaokuta steel mill, and that is going to be a very big, industry that will employ over 50,000 direct labor in Nigeria. Once again, I am your host, Daniel Atai. Spectacle will come again tomorrow with another spectacular topic. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai.